Today I want to talk about failure. I probably look tired because it's almost 1 in the morning. I've been smoking much of the evening for a catering event that I have in a couple days, and today I lost my first batch of meat for an event. That's never happened to me before, and so I wanted to go through some of the things that happened so that hopefully you can avoid that ever happening to you. The first thing is always check your fuel levels. I ran out of propane in the middle of my smoke. The most frustrating thing for me is that I knew I was low going in. I decided to put my fuller tank on my tri-tip. I had 2 smokers going, so I had the full tank going on my tri-tip, and then another one that I thought had more fuel than it actually did for the chicken. So what ended up happening is I ran out of gas, and the problem really is I don't know when. If I was standing there when it went out, it wouldn't be a problem, but I wasn't attentive enough, and so I missed it. And so I walked outside, and it wasn't heating, and so that was a problem, which really kind of is connected to the second one. Food safety matters. The danger zone, 40 degrees to 140 degrees. It's important, especially when you're talking poultry. And so I didn't want to risk feeding a large group of people food that was potentially not safe. Now, it may have been fine, but I didn't know that, and I didn't feel comfortable enough with that. So always make sure that danger zone is something you're paying attention to. As I was doing some research tonight, I came across a really helpful tip that says the meat should spend no more than 4 hours between that zone. So that means if you put let's say a tri-tip roast, if you put a tri-tip roast out on the counter for a half hour to kind of come to room temperature, it's going to spend time. So you need to count that half hour into the time spent in the danger zone. And so with poultry in particular, it's something that you want to be extra careful about. Beef tends to have a little bit more flexibility. When you're talking a roast, ground beef, different conversation. But food safety is important. So make sure you know kind of the ins and outs of it. You don't have to be an expert, but know enough to feel comfortable with what you're serving. The next thing is, if you're going to price what you're doing, price yourself high enough to be able to have the integrity to make this decision. I went back and forth for a while because we're talking, I don't know what the total was, maybe about $125 worth of meat. That's a bummer. I mean, nobody wants to just watch $125 get thrown away, myself included, and I'm in the midst of it right now, and it's not the most pleasant thing I've ever had to deal with. But the good news is that I can go out tomorrow and buy another $125 worth of chicken thighs, and I'm going to be okay. Financially, I'm still going to be able to make a profit on the job overall. And so that's a really important thing to make sure that you're not pricing yourself so cheaply that you can't afford to make a mistake. Because what'll happen is it'll put you in a place where you're going to have to compromise. And you're going to have to say, I don't know if this food is safe, but I should probably serve it anyway because I can't afford not to. So always be cautious and be aware of putting yourself in that place. You want to make sure you price yourself reasonably. The other side of that is if you're not charging and you're just doing it for friends or for an event and they're just giving you the cost of meat, just know going in that there's the potential for this kind of stuff to happen, and it's even helpful to let them know that. Say, hey, there's a chance that this may not go right, and I want to make sure that I can not serve it if that's the case. So another thing that I learned on top of those things is that the smoker was actually too full. One of the things that's really nice about the Masterbuilt smoker that I have a couple different versions of it. Their latest iteration has 6 different racks, and so that's really, really helpful for filling it up. Now the problem that I'm running into is that I filled it up and it wasn't able to really maintain a high enough temperature to keep things going in a good direction. And so what I'm going to do tomorrow is I'm actually going to use 2 different smokers for chicken, and I'm only going to fill 4 of the 6 shelves with chicken this time around. And so sometimes we get excited about the maximum capacity of the smoker that we have, but it's actually a good idea not to push it to its limits because you can run into some problems in terms of being able to heat it appropriately. And then the last thing that I think is important is always take into account the weather. The weather's a factor when you're smoking, and it's important that you keep that in mind because it's going to have an effect. So today it's cold and it's raining, and so because I'm smoking in the evening, I wasn't really able to get it up to the temperature that it needed to be. Also considering that it was full. So the last time I smoked these chicken, it's chicken thighs for shredded chicken. The last time I did it was for a large wedding. It was 225 people, and so I had 2 smokers absolutely packed, but it was probably in the 90s, maybe even 100 when I was smoking it, because I remember thinking it's going to cook really fast because of the temperature outside. That was the difference between me being able to successfully get the smoker up to temperature versus not. And so today, weather was one of the things that defeated the process. So those are 5 things that I learned this failure, and I think keeping those in mind for you hopefully will be helpful.